All right, hello. Welcome back to the Whole My Helmet Football Podcast. I'm your host, Will Reichling.
And I'm your co-host, Dylan Boyle.
Dylan, what's up? What's going on? I see you got a nice haircut going on there. What's going on? You trying to impress anyone?
Yeah.
Your mom for dinner?
Yeah,
What's going on?
You gotta, impress the fans.
Got the little beard. I just noticed you got a little beard going on,
Got
too.
a little beard. You got to change it up every once in a while. But I heard, once you get the beard, you kind of can't get rid of it.
You can't.
You never look the same afterwards.
It really does change the complexity of your face. I've had a beard since I was 20.
Try to get rid of it.
No, my girlfriend won't let me.
No.
Now, the Chiefs finally losing the game, Dylan. They are mortal. They're not immortal. We find out they're mortal. And look, the games between these two teams, the Bills and the Chiefs, always come down to the wire. But we kind of felt like the other shoe was going to fall, like the other foot, eventually with the Chiefs, and it kind of happened here.
I mean, I've been waiting all season for this to happen. I mean, they've been playing, don't get me wrong, they play good football, but they have not been playing great football. And there's been so many games, I name, 5 to 6 games where in one play it could have been the other way around. They had, 6 to 7 games that ended in like a one possession game.
Yes.
Most of their games come down to the wire and come down to either, penalty, stupid play from the opposite. I'm not going to throw
We've talked
out
about
there,
it before, yeah.
But it's just they haven't been winning with conviction. And it's just like it came to the point. It's like, okay, when are they going to finally lose? Because they can't just keep this up. And if I know it's like playoff Chiefs, but can they be a good team when it comes to playoffs? And can they play bet? Because if you play the Detroit Lions like this, it's not going to be ending the same way. If you play the Buffalo, I mean, they already played the Buffalo Bills, but you saw it was a 2-possession game they lost by. It's not like they lost by 3 points.
And you bring up a good point because playoffs. Last year, Travis Kelce, had an off regular season, came on in the playoffs. This regular season has been even worse than last regular season. Mm-hmm. Is he really going to come on in the playoffs, or is he just old now? So that's a very valid question to ask. Now, I always felt like ever since, they lost Rashee Rice, they lost Pacheco, they did add Hopkins, they have Worthy, they have some pieces there. Kareem Hunt comes back and he looked effective. Hopkins. But you always felt like the other shoe was going to fall off the other foot eventually. And it happened here. And coming into this game, we both picked the Bills. We didn't have a video last week. Kind of took a little bit of a week off, but yes, we both sent our picks to each other. We tried not to fuck each other over. He probably fucked me over.
You know how I were.
Anyway, we both picked the Bills for a reason. We kind of felt like this was going to be the game. The Bills kind of felt like the better team going into this game, so we kind of both felt like this is going to be the game the Chiefs finally lose, and it was. Josh Allen with the run of the year. That might have been the best run of the year so far.
100%. Yeah.
This is the best version of Josh Allen I've ever seen. This is the best version of the Buffalo Bills I've ever seen. Dylan, this could be a Super Bowl team. They've beaten the Chiefs before in the regular season. It hasn't meant shit because they lost in the playoffs. But I think this team can beat the Chiefs in the playoffs. What do you think?
I 100% agree. I mean, the Bills right now are looking like one of the top teams in the league. I mean, ever since they got rid of Diggs, the whole demeanor of this team changed. You could tell right from the get-go. They've been playing very good football. And then once they added Amari Cooper,
who made 2 great catches down the sideline.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's obviously a great playmaker, and he's the wide receiver 1.
Yes,
and there's no doubt there. It's just been different. As soon as he got there, this team has looked like a Super Bowl team.
And I heard today that Khalil Shakir has the most yards after contact in the league. He's been pretty effective too. Shakir.
And James Cook in the backfield is lethal.
He's a top 10 back.
You could use him anywhere. Receiving back, up the middle, right. Wherever. He's a very talented back. And this team just has been looking much different. And can this be the year for them? And if it's not this year, then when is it? Because they are. It seems like they're ready at this point.
Yeah, Josh Allen's playing the best football of his career. You have the defense who lost all these pieces: Tre'Davious White, Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, Matt Milano out for the year, and Sean McDermott, defensive head coach, having this defense playing very well. Von Miller also creating pressure. They're getting to the quarterback. So with Josh Allen reeling it in, playing within himself, but still making special plays, but not turning the ball over as much. I think he has 2-3 turnovers all year.
That's the key point with this. He's reeling in the turnovers, and he's looking like the best Josh Allen we've ever seen.
And this is looking.
He's been playing like it. I mean, that the whole thing with Josh Allen is like the turnovers, having 3 turnovers in a game against the Jets. Like that just can't happen, and that hasn't happened this season. And I mentioned this before, but I think a key part of that is not worrying about feeding your receivers because they're gonna throw a fit if you don't. I mean, we've seen fits thrown by Stephon Diggs because he hasn't got the ball. I mean, that takes an impact on your quarterback.
These are human beings.
They are, and he's going to be like, oh, I got to hit him, even though you have somebody wide open down the field. Or you'll force a throw interception because you haven't hit him all game.
Well, that's true. They've had Stephon Diggs pretty much. I mean, Josh Allen's the last 4 or 5 seasons as a starter, and he's had the most touchdowns, but the most interceptions too in the league, or turnovers, interceptions or turnovers. He's been turnover prone. Yeah. Now all of a sudden, yes, you reel it in, and he's still making big plays down the field, but he's being smart about it. Yes, he had that one dumb pick. Remember that one? I was on 4th down, so you're trying to just throw it up, screw it, but. It happens. You're still going to get some picks out of Josh Allen. But as long as you maintain... Like, last year, I think he threw 15, 16 interceptions. As long as you cut that in half. And you cut that in half times 2 or 3. So, Josh Allen's played the best football Josh Allen's ever played in his career. Is it time to admit that Patrick Mahomes, he's been playing the worst football of his career?
5 interceptions. I'm sorry, I had to double check. 5 interceptions this year. That's not bad at all.
No.
I mean, compared to other seasons, I mean, we're already, over halfway through the season.
That's what I mean, though. Like, as long as he had, I think 15 last year, as long as you cut that in half, which he definitely has, you're good. Best football of his career. Patrick Mahomes, on the other hand, this has probably been the worst football of his career. Yes, he had a 2-3 game stretch where he got a little better, but I think he has like 15 touchdowns, 11 picks. He has
a lot of interceptions as well.
He has 11 interceptions.
I mean, I've even said this before, like, the amount of interceptions he had that were flags that came back, he would be leading the league in interceptions. It's kind of crazy. I mean, he makes those plays that you're like, wow, Patrick Mahomes. But on the other hand, he still makes a lot of mistakes.
Like, that make you go, wow, Patrick Mahomes? Like, yeah, so I know exactly what you're talking about. I do. Does that mean that even though they started off 9-0, almost got to that undefeated streak, that everyone talks about, the 08 Patriots, the 72 Dolphins. Now that they finally lost the game, is this going to lead to a losing streak here? Like, are they going to is everything just going to crumble now?
No, I don't think so. I think this is more of a relief, like not having to worry about, staying undefeated. You kind of could regroup. It's like, okay, we're still leading the AFC. We're still the first seed. We still got this. But the one thing is, I mean, with the Bills now, they have the tiebreaker now. So now you kind of have to worry a little bit. You got to have more wins than the Bills at this point. And so it's not like, they don't have the tiebreaker. So
I think
that's going to be a key point when it comes to the end of the season.
I think the Bills have an easier schedule too down the stretch. So that's something to look out for as we go towards the end of the season. And Bills Chiefs, people might say those are the 2 best teams in the AFC. You've been saying for weeks that your best team in the NFL is the Baltimore Ravens. Now they go against Pittsburgh. At Pittsburgh, now this is a trend now. This has been multiple games. It seems like they have Lamar's number. What's going on with that? It's not like he honestly he didn't play good. He played like shit. Lamar played like shit in this game. What is it about the Steelers having his number every time? This has been multiple games.
I was watching this game and I can count and how many mistakes that this team made that weren't in Lamar's hand.
Drop balls.
We're talking about 2 fumbles. One in the beginning of the game, one middle of the game. You got an interception that was completely just ripped out of the guy's hand. You have 2 missed field goals, easy missed field goals that if you hit both those, you won the game. I mean, obviously it doesn't always work out like that. They probably would have been less conservative, whatever. But you have so many mistakes being made. You have a throw that goes directly into Zay Flowers' chest that just bounces off. There wasn't a play where Lamar looked bad. I mean, can you tell me that, you're saying Lamar looked like crap this game?
Well, if you look at his numbers, they weren't good.
They're never good. Lamar's stats are never good, but it never justifies how he played.
Other than his first MVP season, this has been a great statistical year for Lamar up to this point.
No, but what I'm getting
he's
at
been
is
insane statistically this year. I know what you mean.
His stats never show how he actually played.
I'll tell you what, they had 18 They had 16 points. They finished the game with 16 points. So some of that has to go on Lamar a little bit. And
2 missed field goals.
Look at his numbers.
What is that?
Look at his numbers against the Steelers, though. There's a trend here. It seems like every time they play,
Steelers maybe have one of the best defenses in the league.
They might have the best defense after this week. It really has been impressive. But yes, Lamar went down, had a near game tying drive. You go for 2. Why is Derrick Henry not on the field? Why is he not even on the field? Okay, you don't have to hand the ball off to him, but the threat of Derrick Henry. You have 2 yards to get to tie the game. 2 yards. You have the king. I think he has the most touchdowns this season, Derrick Henry. It's either him or Barkley. Why wouldn't you not run the ball with Derrick Henry on the 2? Why? I didn't understand that. I'm sorry. I did not understand that.
I didn't get that either. I didn't like the play call at all. Scrambled to the left and,
Dude, just... What was that? Just
Lamar. It wasn't any sort of good scheme.
It was just good luck, Lamar.
Yeah,
good luck.
It literally was.
Did Derrick Henry even have a carry in the fourth quarter? I don't think he did. I know he fumbled and then he kind of came out of the game for a while, but I don't think
he fumbled the first drive.
I don't think he had a carry in the fourth quarter.
I mean, he's the fourth quarter guy, so that kind of blows my mind. They probably played a little different now. They were going against the Steelers defense, but I'm not worried about I'm not worried about Baltimore here. I mean, there's a lot of mistakes made. I'm worried about Tucker, man. I mean, this guy was the best kicker in the league for years. For 2-3 years ago,
yeah, he's
wasn't debatable. He was the best kicker in the league, and now he's missing easy shots after easy shots after easy shots. It's like they should have won this game. I mean, 2 of those field goals, if they make both of those,
they win.
It's funny. They only lost by 2 points.
It's funny because ironically, the best kicker in the league now might have been the guy on the Steelers, Boswell, hitting 6 field goals.
Yeah, 6 for 6. I mean,
no touchdowns, just 6 field goals, and that's how the Steelers win.
I mean, like, it doesn't take away from what Tucker has done in the past, but what is he doing this season?
I know. You might have to start considering like other options at this point.
I mean, even like, mediocre, like he's like the bottom. Like he's one of the worst.
He's been one of the worst this season,
which is pretty crazy to say.
Now, I don't say this a lot. I usually don't admit when you're right and I'm wrong. Ever since I said George Pickens is overrated, since the moment I said it, 5 catches, 111 yards, a touchdown against the Jets. 4 catches, 74 yards against the Giants. 5 catches, 91 yards, and a touchdown against the Commanders. 8 catches, 89 yards against the Ravens.
And you got to watch the catches. Okay, there's this one catch against the Commanders that was in the end zone. I kept on watching it. It was insane. Might have been a catch of the year that nobody knows about. This guy was running in the back of the end zone, and he was going more left. The ball was right, so he had to turn his whole body and come up and catch it with the tip of his fingers. It's like that every game. He has a highlight reel every game.
The biggest part about this...
It's his attitude. I get it, but like...
No,
once he's doing what he's doing...
His attitude's been better. I think he's been getting the ball more. But that's besides the point. He's been performing. That's all that matters in this league. This is a production league. Can he produce? And he's been producing. The last 4 games, he's had almost 400 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's been a beast. I think he's 3rd in receiving yards in the league now. So he's been a beast. Now, it hasn't just been the spectacular plays, the numbers he's been putting up. Look at some of the catches he's had in the most important moments of the game.
The yards after contact, he's not afraid to lower his shoulder. But there's I remember this one play, I think it was on the Commanders game too. He ran into a traffic with 4 people, bounced off of all of them, kept going, and they struggled to bring him down. It's like he can do it all.
The moment in the game too, he's making these catches. Mm-hmm. It's like critical moments that they need these plays.
Clutch.
That last, I think the game-winning field goal drive against the Ravens, he made that huge catch down the sideline. That it seems like it always comes at the biggest point in the game.
It's like Russell Wilson, that's his go-to. He trusts him at this point. You could tell with the throws that he made with him. And then, I mean, you've said it before, and I've noticed it, but he doesn't create a lot of separation. And I see that too. He doesn't. But he makes up with it with
his hands.
With his hands, with the catch through contact.
His physicality.
Exactly.
He's tough.
With the amount of, the great catches that he can make.
He's tough. There's no doubt about his toughness. That's for sure. Seriously. Now, there's also no doubt about Jaden Daniels' toughness. He's been, has that rib injury. But he has slightly struggled since that rib injury happened. When he runs, he doesn't have as much conviction. Like, he's a little hesitant. You saw on that 4th down play where it was 12-10, I think, Eagles. 4th down. Why Dan Quinn not kick the field goal? I don't really understand that. Like, let's talk about that first. Analytics. It's 4th down. You're down by 2. You have a field goal that you could kick to take the lead. Why don't you take the lead there in the 4th quarter? Your offense isn't playing well. I know analytics is telling you to go for it there, but sometimes the analytic guys are fucking retarded, okay? You want to take a lead in a football game where your offense is struggling. If you have a chance to take the lead with a field goal, you take the lead in the 4th quarter. I don't care what your analytics says. Now that we got that out of the way, well, you could give your take on that in a little bit. Just let me get to my point here. Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels runs right. Looks like he kind of had a hole there, but he hesitated and then kind of just got decked out of bounds. He seems a little off. Like, something is slightly off the last couple of weeks. Like,
and I think it's a bit of a learning curve. And coming into the NFL, he doesn't expect these guys making, like, the hits they make. After his injury, I'm sure he was a little more conservative, knowing he has an injured rib. But I think that will, over time, that will slowly go away, and he'll get his confidence back. I'm not worried about this team at all. I mean, they were going toe-to-toe with the Eagles this whole time. And obviously at the end of the game, it kind of got taken away. But it is what it is. I mean, this is a team that was kind of in rebuild. But the Eagles, on the other hand, they're playing hella good football. They were sticking around a lot longer than they should have. I feel like they should have, they should have been blowing this team out from the beginning.
It was ugly in the
I'm
first
not
half.
too worried about them. I think if they keep it up, they keep on using Barkley. I mean, Barkley's the type of guy, you keep on running him, that third run he's going to get a breakaway run.
Which is what happened.
He always does. He always does. That's what happens.
4th quarter was the Saquon Barkley quarter. It really was. He kind of blew that game out of the water. Now, I'm going to ask you this. 4th quarter, your offense is struggling. You have 10 points. The other team has 12. You're down by 2. 4th down. About 40, I think it was about a 40-ish yard field goal. I don't know the exact distance. Do you kick the field goal there, or do you go for it?
So I think what they were thinking here, and I don't blame them at all. I mean, they have Saquon Barkley in the backfield.
I'm talking about the Commanders. Commanders had 4th down.
No, I know.
So
I'm saying they're off the opposing team's offense. Has Saquon. They've been humming. In the whole 4th quarter, and. You kind of want to, put a nail in the coffin and, get a lead, get a solid lead, over a field goal. I get that, but I don't think you go for it.
The thing is, Barkley scored his 2 touchdowns after that play. It's almost like that was the momentum shifter. So, look, I understand analytics. It was like 4th and less than 2. You go for it in that situation. But sometimes you got to think about the situation in the game. Their offense was struggling. You're playing... Jaden Daniels is hurt, slightly hurt. Whether they want to admit it or not, he's clearly playing a little injured. Your offense isn't playing well. Eventually, Eagles, with Saquon Barkley, like you said, are going to get it going eventually. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, take the lead there. I know it really didn't matter at the end of the day because the Eagles ended up going off after that. So at the end of the day, it didn't really matter. But I think sometimes analytics is wrong.
So let me ask you a question. You take Saquon Barkley out of the equation. What good did this team really do during this game? I mean, I really want you to see because the play calling wasn't phenomenal. I feel like they should have. I mean, with the way that this team was playing, they should have blown them out.
I think they played fine. I think if anything,
they played fine.
Look, they've been playing very well the last couple of weeks. I'm not worried about them. If anything, I think that they're doing what they do best now. They run the ball. Jalen. I keep missing up Jalen. Jalen Hurts is not turning the ball over like he was. A.J. Brown's back. He's getting some big throws to him. They played efficient. They weren't reckless. That's all they need to do because they're too talented not to go to the playoffs, win a playoff game. So they're fine. I actually
Barkley
think
was the only wow factor in this game.
You don't need wow factors in this game. The Commanders were struggling. You have the better team. You go out there and you work.
If you're going up against Detroit, you're going to need that wow factor. If you're going against Buffalo, you're going to need that wow factor.
Well, they're not.
If you're going against a good team, you're going to.
If they go against Detroit in the playoffs, they're going to lose. But if they go against the Commanders in the playoffs, they're probably going to win. If they go against the Cardinals in the playoffs, they're probably going to win that game. They go against the Packers, they beat them in Week 1. So the Eagles are well positioned in this NFC. I think that they're probably the second best team.
I think they're a poorly coached team.
Well, we don't agree. We don't disagree on that. So.
And it's gonna show over time. I feel like they can have their good games, but it's the bad games that we really need to look at.
Look, I definitely hear you. I was the one calling for Sirianni's job a few weeks ago. I don't think he's a good head coach, but I think the roster is too talented for them not to be a 10-win team.
Let's see how they are in the playoffs.
They're going to make the playoffs, though. They'll be a playoff team. I think we both agree on that. They're going to the playoffs. They're like 8-2 now, or 9-2. Are they 9-2 or 8-2 now? I think they're 8-2.
I got you.
I think they already had a bye week, so they should be 8-2. Regardless, Jalen Hurts, he's been playing like the last 5-6 weeks. Like I don't think, 8-2. I don't think but he was efficient. To the A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Goddard starting to go off again, even though he gets hurt a lot.
Was that their first win against the Commanders?
That's the first time they played the Commanders.
Okay, so Commanders could still get a tiebreaker over them. Okay. Yeah, I mean, let's see how I feel like, the Commanders are going to come back, and I think they could win that second game.
I don't know.
They're going to be home.
If anything, I think the Commanders...
It's going to be... What week is that? It's going to be the third to last game. So Commanders are home. I think they win. I think they take that game.
Here's the thing. I think the Commanders might have been their playoff team. They're going to go to the playoffs, but maybe they were a little bit of fool's gold. They're not an elite... They don't have
cold is a bit much.
They don't have elite weapons. They have McLaurin, and who else do they have? They have an old Zach Ertz. Brian Robinson's been pretty good, but then they have Eckler.
Eckler's been coming on.
Yes, he's been good.
Listen, he was looking like more of a receiver. If you look at his stat, he was a receiver this game. He had 8 receptions in this game?
Yeah, but look at the Eagles' offense. Look at the Commanders' offense. I think a big thing we're not talking about too is this Eagles' defense. With Cooper DeJean, Quinn Mitchell, at these corners all of a sudden looked like they could play.
So you're making my point. Look at this Commanders team, and then look at this Eagles team.
And who won the game?
By how much?
They got worked. The Eagles worked them.
My point is, this Eagles team is much better than they're showing it. I mean, they should have whooped Commanders.
They did, in my opinion. The score doesn't always tell the full story. I never once thought the Commanders were winning that game. I don't know if you did.
They stuck in it for the.
They didn't.
To the third.
They scored
quarter.
10 points they scored 10 points to the final 2 minutes. I don't think they played good at all. The two teams that did play really good. Sunday Night Football, Bengals-Chargers. Justin Herbert. The first half was the Justin Herbert show. The second half was the Joe Burrow show.
Literally.
This game proved that these two quarterbacks... Look, there's 5 quarterbacks in the league that I would take over any other quarterback in the league. I call them the tier 1 quarterbacks. Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Lamar, Herbert. Herbert's in that, and
Aaron Rodgers isn't in that.
Aaron Rodgers isn't even a bottom. Aaron Rodgers is a bottom 5 quarterback.
No, I was just trolling.
I think Justin Herbert's elite in top 5. I think Joe Burrow's elite in top 5. The difference in this game was, I think Jim Harbaugh is a better head coach than Zach Taylor. Not saying Zach Taylor's a bad head coach for the Bengals, but these games in the past, the Chargers would lose this game. 10 times out of 10, the Chargers would have lost this game. With Jim Harbaugh, all of a sudden, all he does is win, baby. Yeah. That's all that guy does is win.
He does.
Justin Herbert.
You got to cue the song. All I do is win, win.
Justin Herbert has quietly had a great year. 13 touchdowns, 1 pick, 102 passer rating. Harbaugh only wins, and Justin Herbert's been playing great. Honestly, these two are going to the playoffs.
I mean, you can't argue with that because Herbert has always played good ball. It's never come down to Herbert playing bad ball. It really hasn't. At the end of the day, Herbert, it came down to coaching, but now they got their coach. I mean, they lost a lot of weapons in the past. I mean, they lost Eckler, their star running back. They lost Keenan Allen, a bunch of other stars, Mike Williams. But now they're starting to put it back together. You got Quentin Johnston that's coming on as a really good
Ladd McConkey,
Ladd McConley. I mean, you got all these guys, and now they're starting to make it work. And then they got the back, J.K. Dobbins and
Gus Edwards has been hurt, but J.K. Dobbins,
that's a good 2-headed horse.
J.K. Dobbins, he was hurt like the last 3-4 years, and all of a sudden coming back having a rebound year. He had that game-winning touchdown.
Yeah, I mean Dobbins has looked phenomenal.
He's looked great.
I mean, obviously the whole concern was him and the injuries. But
yes.
I mean, to bounce back from the amount of injuries he has and to been playing like he does, phenomenal. Good for him.
And the Bengals, their defense is holding them back.
That's all that's wrong with this team. I mean, we've been seeing it for years on end. When your team puts up 25, 27, 30 points and are still losing games, it's like I can see why all these offensive players, I mean, Jamar Chase look frustrated. In these post-conferences, he looks frustrated. And, he doesn't want to say it, obviously, but he's kind of insinuating it. I think during the press conference, they're like, well, what's going on? Why aren't we seeing, why aren't we winning these games? They said, is it coaching? It's like, I don't know.
Here's the thing. The Bengals, the last couple of years, have had good defenses. This is the first year they've had a shit defense. And now it's when the their owner has been really cheap, not paying players, like Jesse Bates going in the Falcons. They lost Von Bell. They lost a lot of players, Dylan. And now you're starting to see it because they just don't have the same defense. Lou Anarumo was a great defensive coordinator. Now people are calling for his job. So it's tough. Joe Burrow's had one of his best seasons of his career, but there's been other seasons where he struggled the first half of the season. So like, I can't look. It's tough watching him play have elite quarterback play and lose, but like. He lost to the Patriots week 1. Part of this is on him, this game wasn't on him. But this season, you can't just... And you look at some of his throws, too. Like, one of those touchdown throws to Jamar Chase was a wobbly throw. Clearly, his wrist is still bothering him. You see him before the game. Like, something... He's still not fully back, but he's been great. That's for sure. Jamar Chase, he's really... putting up an argument for Justin Jefferson to be the best receiver in the league because he's been amazing.
And before we even started this season, we talked about it. It's like if they start off slow, then they're not gonna get. They're gonna be trailing the whole season, and that's what happened.
And happened? That's what happened.
I mean, the Chiefs gave them a G check, and that kind of got them back into the groove. But it just comes down to defense at this point. I mean, they're the 9th highest scoring offense in the league, and with that, you would expect your defense to kind of rebound. To give you some perspective. I think the Steelers are like the 20th, and they're 7-2
because of their defense.
8-2, exactly because of their defense. You expect your defense to kind of equal you out, but I mean, you've said it before. It all starts at ownership.
They've been cheap and they haven't paid their defensive players. Jesse Bates is the best safety in the league on the Falcons. You drafted him. He's gone.
That could have been the game changer. That could have been multiple.
He's the best safety in the league, and now he's gone. So that's just kind of goes to also when you pay the quarterback. You didn't pay the wide receiver yet, actually. You let Joe Mixon walk, too. You have no running game now.
And now look at him on the Texans.
You have no running game now either.
Top 5 running back.
That's a problem, too. You don't have a ground game. And say you get a lead in the fourth quarter. You can't hold on to it. You got to just keep throwing, which happened against the Ravens.
What is it, James Brown?
Chase Brown. He's been okay, but...
He's more of a receiving back than anything. Right. They don't really have that, up-the-gun guy.
So, it's a little too late. They're probably going to miss the playoffs now. Unless they make some kind of crazy run. They're probably out.
This was the game for them. This is the game that they needed to win. I thought this was going to be a whole momentum changer through the whole season.
They came back. They
did.
Yeah.
And that's what it never comes down to offense with this team. They always are humming on offense. Even if they're slow in the first half, they pick it up in the second half. Chase, T. Higgins, you got so many pieces. I mean, I'm really not. You're talking about running back. I'm not worried about running back. I'm more worried about defense.
In this case, the defense is the worst problem. And opposite for this next team, the Bears, the offense is the worst problem. Caleb Williams has sucked. Probably just looked the worst out of all 4 rookie quarterbacks so far, given the talent he's had in that team. He looked a lot better in this game. I know they fired their offensive coordinator, Shane Waldron, but he looked like he had confidence. He was more accurate. And you want to know what they did most importantly in this game? They got DJ Moore the ball. If it was a screen, little slant, they didn't care. They got him the ball. They should be throwing him a screen, 2 screens a quarter. Like, the fact that they weren't doing that before, this guy is great with yards after the catch. He breaks a lot of tackles. They finally were getting people more involved. DeAndre Swift looking great. This is how this offense should have looked in the beginning of the last 3-4 games. So, it was tough with the field goal at the end. But
it was. I mean,
that's just the Bears' luck with the Packers.
That's just their luck. I mean, this happened, 2 weeks ago with the Chiefs and the Broncos, and I mean, like, it's just a freak thing to happen. I mean, what else can you say? But I think you hit it on the head there. I mean, this is an offense that should be operating like this with the amount of talent that they have on their roster on offense. They should be, and they have a great defense too. So. Yes. You expect things to work. I mean, they're kind of putting it all together now. Caleb has been looking pretty good. I mean, 308 rushing yards this season? He's looking really good. We're kind of finally seeing him pick up things, reel in the bad throws. I mean, he's in the beginning of the season, he didn't look that great. I mean, he would have, really bad throws, but I feel like they're finally kind of getting in the flow of things. And if they can keep this up, I mean, I don't see why they can't make a playoff run as well.
It's going to be tough now. They're 4-6, I think. You're in the best division in football.
I feel like the momentum has changed this last 2 weeks for them.
Think about all the playoff teams, though. You have the Packers, the Vikings, the Cardinals, the Seahawks, the Niners. They're not going to make the playoffs. There's just too many wild card teams.
Never count out anyone. They're
4-6, so they're right there. They can still. If they win the next
sneak into the 7th.
If they win 2 in a row and go to 6-6, we'll be talking like that for sure. We'll be like, they're right back in the playoffs.
Caleb is a good quarterback. I mean, he hasn't been playing like that in the beginning, but I mean, he's starting to pick it up now.
He had a couple.
Once you have the confidence, it all starts to come together.
It's weird because he had a couple terrible weeks in the beginning, and then he started to improve. Then the last 3-4 weeks, huge regression, gigantic regression. Now we start to pick it back up again.
That's what you're going to see from these
Rookie quarterbacks.
A great example, Anthony Richardson.
Bo Nix too, though.
I'm still
and down.
Considering him as somewhat of a rookie. He hasn't played
16 games.
He hasn't
yet.
played 16 games, and he looks phenomenal with the throwing, with the run. I know we're not going to really talk about this game much,
good, though.
But he looks great. I mean, even as they're keep putting down his shoulder, getting in the end zone twice, and he's making those throws against an elite defense.
I think another good comparison. Bo Nix. How many bad games did he have? Now look at him. Look at the progression Bo Nix has had.
Him and Sean Payton, it looks like a match made in heaven.
We'll talk about that in a little bit. Very excited to talk about that one. But Caleb Williams, a lot of rookies look like this. Good games, bad games, good games, bad games. This is usually how a rookie season goes.
You want to see the positive weigh out the negative.
Exactly.
You know there's going to be negative there. I mean, you can't expect them to look like.
C.J. Stroud and Herbert.
C.J. Stroud in his first season, and even now he's regressing.
Yes,
you're gonna expect the other foot to drop. Texans, on the other hand, I know we're not going to talk about them much, but are we worried about them at all? I'm personally not. I think they're still a very competitive team.
I'm not. I actually said I predicted going through the season their record would be better, but they would look worse. Why? Because they're not the hunting anymore. They're the hunted. And defense has got a year of tape on C.J. Stroud. Look at them now, slightly struggling. So. Not saying I didn't tell you so. It's not like you were disagreeing with me, but I did kind of call that a little bit. I did see some slight sophomore slump.
Still very impressed. They're still a top 10 team.
They're 7-4, I think. Yeah.
They still have a lot of injuries that happened over the season. You're missing Stephon Diggs.
Collins coming back was huge for them, and they got Joe Mixon still. So
and Nico Collins is like a top 5 wide receiver.
He's playing like one.
He's proven it.
So the other team in this game that blocked the field goal, the Chicago Bears. The Green Bay Packers, the other one. Now. We talked about Caleb Williams having some slight improvements and doing the things they do well and not turning the ball over too much. And that's kind of been Jordan Love's MO, just fuck it and chuck it kind of mindset. And I love it. I think he's a top 10 quarterback. I think he's elite. But I can see why analysts have been a little concerned over the turnovers the last couple of weeks. But the Bears have a good defense. There was some struggling in this game, but I think Jordan Love made a lot of good throws, especially down the stretch. I think he's fine.
I think he's fine too. It's every game you get the wow, and then you get the oh, and then you get the wow, and then you get the oh. But I mean, I love it. I love the aggressiveness. I love the confidence. I love how he trusts his receivers to give him that 50-50 ball. There was one throw towards, I think it was the third quarter, to Jordan. I'm sorry, not Jordan. Watson.
Where he dove?
Christian Watson. Where he threw it up in double coverage. The guy was right on him. And he kind of, it kind of just landed perfectly, and he let his guy get it.
And that goes either way for him.
He trusts his receivers. He gives them the 50-50 ball, and that's what you have to do rather than sit in the pocket, take the sack. He makes those big throws, and that's what I like about him. And I would take that over somebody like Aaron Rodgers, who's plays too safe.
Right now he does for sure.
Well, I'm just talking about in general.
No, right now, right now he has been. Yeah.
Yes,
so
right now.
How huge has Josh Jacobs been for this team? Because having a running game, an effective running back, it's been huge for them.
Dude, the running back situation that's been going on in the league has been crazy. I mean, look at all these running backs. We got J.K. Dobson looking phenomenal. You got Swift. You got the Lions. I mean, both of them. I mean, all these running backs are kind of making a case.
I think they're going to start to get paid again slightly. Not like anything more than $20 million, but I think you'll see some running backs get paid this offseason.
Absolutely, I don't see why not. I mean, I feel like it comes down to just using them the right way. Being on a team, having the confidence.
No, exactly. When you use
I feel like, I don't know, over the last couple of years, it's we've kind of got to a point where the running backs haven't been as important, but I feel like this season's been the other way around.
It definitely has, and if you look at it, the highest paid running back in the league, Christian McCaffrey, runs, catches. You could use him as a receiver out of the backfield, and coming back, he's starting to look like his usual self again. It took him a little bit. I mean, he looked okay last game, but was 3-point-something yards per carry.
He hasn't played the whole season.
Yeah, exactly.
It's his third game back?
The second half of that Seahawks game, he kind of looked like himself again. But Geno Smith, final drive, going right down the field, running in for the touchdown, finally beating the Niners. He was 0-5 against the Niners in his career before that win. I've been saying this for weeks. This is the beginning of the end for the 49ers. They just aren't the same team anymore, Dylan. There's something off about them. It hasn't even been Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy's been fine. Hasn't been even. Jordan Mason was great when Christian McCaffrey was out. So it wasn't the running game.
So what is it?
I think Deebo Samuel is a big part of that. Where has he been?
He's non-existent.
He's been non-existent. Jawan Jennings has been great, though. Don't get me wrong. George Kittle has had a great season, but he's hurt all the time. Again, he's hurt. Out of nowhere, you're like, George Kittle's out this week? So it seems like this happens with this team a lot. You have defensive players that are out all over the place. I think Charvarius Ward didn't play. Unfortunately, God forbid, I hope he feels better soon. But Charvarius Ward's son died, or daughter died over the weekend, something like that. So he wasn't there. Yeah, so you have a bunch of unfortunate situations, which has led to a 5-5 record now. And they're last place in the division.
They
lost
are, but they're only like 2 games out.
Right.
As much as this sounds bad, they are only 2 games back.
The problem is they're 1-3 in the division. They've already lost to all 3 teams in the division: the Cardinals, the Seahawks, and the Rams. So they've lost to all of them now. So they might have screwed themselves. Unless they split with them, find a way to split because you play 2 of them. You play 2 games each with them. They're screwed.
I think they're going to be just fine. I mean, no, I haven't liked what I've seen from them. They've been, they haven't been playing the best football. But I don't know who to blame here. I at the end of the day, I don't. I mean, you have the talent. You have the talent. It's everywhere. It's just coming down to, I mean, I've said this in the past, it comes down to winning games at the end. And it seems like that's what they're terrible at. They're great in the first half, terrible in the second half. Can't hold a lead. They'll put up, 20 points in the first half, put up 3 points in the second half. That just can't happen. You have to, go full throttle to the
Lions.
finish line.
We're scoring 50 points now.
No, exactly like the Lions. You gotta keep your gas on the pedal.
I think their problem is
keep your pedal on the gas.
Gas on the pedal.
Gas on the pedal.
So I think the big problem is when they get in the red zone, they don't score touchdowns. They're settling for too many field goals. Maybe that was because McCaffrey was out.
I was gonna say
he's back now, and it was a little better this week. But that's definitely been their problem. I don't think Purdy's been bad though at all. He's been pretty solid.
He hasn't made a terrible throw yet. I mean, obviously he's made terrible throws,
yeah.
but there hasn't been a throw. I'm like,
I hear you. No, I hear you.
And his run factor has been big in this with this team.
He's quicker than people thought.
He is much quicker. I mean,
yeah.
he eludes the pressure. He breaks out the pocket. He can stand in the
he's
pocket.
He's good throw. He's
running
accurate.
around the pocket.
I think his biggest thing is he's accurate throwing on the run. Rolling left, accurate throw. Rolling right, accurate. Not a lot of quarterbacks do that. Goff running and throwing, that's not going to look good. But some quarterbacks are very accurate when they're throwing. And
I mean, Josh Allen, this is like sidetracking completely, but just him, the amount of throws I've seen that he's just like rolling out of bounds and just slinging it down the field. Like that's that it factor,
And Purdy has a little bit of that. He's a tier 2 guy.
He kind of has a little bit of everything. He's not great in this, great in that.
Yes.
He kind of has a little bit of everything that makes him,
Honestly, that is the perfect. He's like a B at everything. He's a good runner, not great. Good arm, not great. Accurate, not the most accurate in the league. He's good footwork, not great. Mm-hmm. You hit it right on the head. He's good at everything, not great at one thing.
He doesn't have that one thing where he's just phenomenal in.
He's well-rounded, though.
He is, and that's what you want to see in these quarterbacks.
So do you pay him after this year? He got one more year on his contract after this year. Do you have to pay him after this year? Can't you wait one more year? Do you have to pay him? Why don't you stack your roster, see what you got? Why you got to pay him $50 million right away? Like, why do we have to pay Tua $52 million right away? Why do we have to pay Trevor Lawrence $55 million when we don't even know if he's any good? Why wouldn't we just wait a year, make sure he's good, and then pay an extra $5 million?
Well, let me ask you. So, what do you think they're missing on this team? What do you think if they add the best blank? What do you think that would put them over the top?
Linemen, they need a tackle. Their right tackle's terrible. Their line's awful now. Other than Trent Williams, who's the best tackle in the league. He's 36. He's going to retire soon. You need a tackle. You need linemen. Their line sucks.
So you pick up a top lineman. Let's say they don't do anything this season. They make a playoff run. They miss. They go all in next year. They get 2 or 3 really good linemen, and they go all in. See what Purdy does, and then next year you kind of
you pay him or you don't.
You take it from there. Yeah, you see how you guys do the.
Everyone's so obsessed still, and I think we've seen this with Lawrence, Burrow, not Tua, but Love. Well, Love was a little later, but a lot of it is third year. The third year's over. Let's pay him. Meanwhile, they have 4 years on their deal. First rounder's 5, but he wasn't the first rounder.
I mean, a perfect example. I mean, Trevor Lawrence, man.
Why wouldn't you just wait? You didn't have to pay him this year.
And do you think they would pay him at the end of this year?
I would hope not, but they are.
I would hope
they
not
are a
either.
stupid organization, though. You never know. They paid him already, and they didn't even know if he was any
No,
good.
my point is, if they didn't pay him last year, what do you think they would have played him the way he was playing?
I'm saying
now?
maybe
No.
though, because they're so stupid.
Maybe? No.
I don't know. I don't trust them. Because when you I would rather pay him 60 to know that he's.
But you got to understand what they're thinking. You know, pay him sooner so you don't have to pay him as much at the end.
Right. And my argument is, wouldn't you rather? So they paid him 55. Wouldn't you rather pay him 60 to wait a year and know he's a star? I like to pay him Mahomes 60 rather than Daniel Jones 55.
And
you know what I mean?
I mean, with Dak too. Didn't he have a year left as
Yeah.
well?
He didn't. And then, remember we talked the whole offseason, okay, they're going to see what he has without talent. Nope, let's give him $60 million. Most in NFL history. Now they're screwed. And he's a good quarterback.
I get why they pay CD. I mean, you know,
he's the top 3 receiver.
He is. I mean, but paying Dak, I mean,
I think Dak's a good
we're
quarterback.
not talking about the Cowboys this week either, but the Cowboys, man.
I think Dak's a good quarterback, but like obviously when you pay a good quarterback elite money, it's gonna set your team back.
I was watching Jerry Jones towards the end of that game against the Texans when they were getting blown out. I swear to God, I thought he was gonna have a stroke or something right on site. Like, what are they doing? What are they doing?
It's his fault. It's all his fault.
It really
He's
is.
the GM.
Paying his guys last second.
He's the GM.
Not giving them any talent. Like, what are you doing, man?
He's just...
And what do you do at this point? I mean, do you...
Draft. You have to draft well. That's the only thing you can do is draft well. Get cheap young players that are good.
You're keeping Dak?
You don't have a choice. No one's taking that contract.
I mean...
Who would take it for $60 million a year? That's crazy.
I mean, you know...
The Browns? The Browns will take it. I'm kidding.
No, there's teams like... Listen,
not the Browns, obviously.
As a Giants fan, I would take him 100%. I think it's the atmosphere.
It's the money, though, tied into it, though. You have to pay him that contract, and that's going to... You have to let people go, like, on your team. That's how, like, it would cost a lot of the cap, dude. That's the problem. That's like Dak Prescott in a vacuum. Yes, I'd take him. It's the $60 million tied to him now. You're going to have to take... Unless you make a deal with the Cowboys to eat some of that contract. That could be a possibility. Maybe they eat half, you eat half. That's doable. That's different.
I think something like that has to happen at this point.
I don't think
I just don't think it's working out.
I think Jerry likes Dak.
I don't think anybody on the team likes Dak. Like,
which kind of sucks is like, dude, CeeDee Lamb had his best numbers with Dak. It's like, you don't know if you're ever going to get that kind of quarterback again. Look at Cooper Rush now. It's definitely not the same with Cooper Rush.
No.
It hasn't been. So, I mean, Dak's not great, but he's clearly like a capable quarterback in this league.
And on the other hand, I don't think it's looking that bad with Cooper Rush. I mean, it's not looking that much of a difference. In all honesty.
I mean, they've been one of the worst offenses. He was good in the first half against the Texans. He was good, but then he fell off a cliff again.
That's how their whole...
That Eagles game,
they've been.
The Eagles game, he was terrible. Like, objectively terrible. So, he's been really bad. And... yeah, you don't know where they're going to go with Dak. And that's what happens when you pay an average quarterback big money. What you want to do is get a rookie quarterback that shows elite traits on no money. Mm-hmm. Hence, Bo Nix. We said this guy was the worst quarterback in the draft. Sean Payton overdrafted him. Sean Payton knows what he's doing, and we've shitted on this guy how many times. And this guy has shown time in, time out on the Saints with Drew Brees, now with the Broncos and Bo Nix, that he knows what he's doing. It's time to say, Sean Payton for Coach of the Year? Look, he had to eat $85 million in dead cap from cutting Russ. That is the highest dead cap hit. I think it was $80 to $85 million.
And then they bounced back the following year.
That is the highest dead cap hit in NFL history. That out of your salary, gone. Your salary cap, boom, $85 million, gone. The fact, they don't have that much talent. Their defense actually is very underrated.
They got rid of pieces.
Yes.
They got rid of Cortland Sutton. No,
they
got rid of
Justin Simmons.
Judy.
They got rid of Judy. Justin Simmons, the safety, gone. And they've gotten better. And Bo Nix, this guy, and I've heard a couple of weeks ago, he was running past one of the defensive players, and I think it was Tony Romo covering the game. I think it was the Ravens game, Broncos-Ravens. And he was like, I just don't think the defensive players realized how fast he was. He just ran right by him. This guy's really quick, and he actually has a really good arm. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've seen, he's got a rocket arm. I really like how this guy's looked. He had some games.
I liked what I've seen from him as well.
He's had some games where he struggled in the beginning of the year, but he's really shown progression. He had, 4 touchdown passes in this game?
A match made in heaven. And, I mean, I saw it a couple weeks ago, like him and Sean Payton going at it. And you kind of need that person, that little G-check the coach as well. Like, that has that little fierce in him.
Right, and Russ didn't have that.
That isn't just going to sit there in the corner just looking down.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Russ didn't have that. Russ is more like happy-go-lucky kind of guy. Exactly. And Bo Nix is like, knows what he's doing within an offense. He was in college for 6 years playing quarterback. Mm-hmm. I think he just knows how to handle Sean Payton, and he's perfect for Sean Payton. Gets the ball out quick, gets it to his read quick, doesn't make dumb turnovers. He is
throwing over the middle.
He is a poor man's Drew Brees that can move better than Drew Brees in his prime. And Drew Brees moved pretty well in his prime, but this is like a Drew Brees that can move. Like it's pretty impressive.
The run game is a big factor for him, and I'm excited to see. I mean, he's up there, like he's like the second.
I would say
he's
the
like
second
the one or two.
I would say second right now for a rookie quarterback.
I don't know. I feel like you're right. Jaden Daniels has regressed
a little bit. Nothing crazy.
But they're kind of right there, neck and neck.
I was gonna say, is it time to say Bo Nix for rookie of the year? I think it's still Jaden Daniels
for now.
But
now we have Drake May coming in the mix too.
That's true.
He's looking really good as well.
He is.
All these rookies, man. I mean, we still got to see what's going on with Penix, and we got to see what's going on with JJ
McCarthy.
That had a second knee surgery recently.
I know it wasn't really a surgery. It was like a cleanup of the knee.
It might have been, but
they were cleaning up some
two
tissue.
Surgeries and not a snap of NFL
That's
football.
true. They were saying they were cleaning up scar tissue, but maybe they were lying. Sometimes they like to keep it under the wraps.
Yeah, keep it under the wraps because they might want to trade him. I mean, I don't know. What do you got going on?
The Darnold situation.
Darnold now you got. You get rid of Darnold?
He's clearly come back to earth, but they're still a playoff team. I don't know. I still think you ride. I still think you're set up for JJ McCarthy next year.
They're in like a similar situation as the Falcons are.
Definitely. Now the Falcons had their ass kicked in this game.
They did. They definitely came back. They came down to earth and they hit hard.
There's just no one better in that division. The Bucks are just missing too many pieces. So it's like
this game shocked me. Honestly, I
picked the Falcons.
I didn't think the Broncos had it in them to blow out a team.
They're a legit team.
A team like this.
They're a playoff team. They almost beat the Chiefs last week. They are a playoff team. It's seriously the Chiefs, Chargers, and Broncos.
What are their record right now? The Broncos
6-5.
Okay, they're still very much in it.
Yes.
100%.
The Chiefs, Chargers, and Broncos, all AFC West teams. We did not think the Chargers and Broncos would be in the playoffs. It's looking like they're playoff teams, Dylan. And coaching, it's all about coaching. Sean Payton, Jim Harbaugh.
Chiefs got to watch out, man. If they don't, keep it together.
Those teams are going to be good for a couple years.
Let me check the Chiefs schedule. I think they have a lot of divisional.
They got to play the Broncos again. They have to play the Chargers again, I think. Bucks? See. No, they played the Bucks.
They got the Panthers, and it's crazy. A lot of people are saying how the Panthers are going to beat them, and honestly, you never know.
You really
weird stuff happens.
You don't know.
Anyways, we got the Panthers. I think they beat Raiders. They beat easily.
Broncos,
Chargers,
and Broncos too.
They can go toe to toe with Texans. That's going to be a tough game. At Steelers,
that might be tough.
And then they end with Broncos.
That's a tough schedule. That's why I think the Bills might get that one seed. They play the Jets. They play the Dolphins. That's asking for wins right there. Speaking of the Jets, Dylan, they fire the GM Joe Douglas. This whole era is over. I don't really know what else to say. We all know this is a disaster. Do you have any words before we put this team in the coffin for the funeral? Does Aaron Rodgers even come back now?
I feel like Woody Allen?
Woody Johnson. You like doing that. Woody Johnson.
See, I had it correct. I had to make sure.
Good job.
I feel like he's just scrambling at this point. It's just, what else do you do? I mean, this team
in the middle of the season,
complete
shambles.
I feel bad. Like, I've never felt bad for the Jets. I mean, when Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles, yes, that
was tough.
But I genuinely feel bad for the Jets because, going back 2 years ago, I was actually excited. I was excited. I'm like, wow, the Jets could actually be good. They could beat that team. And I think a big question to me is, does Aaron Rodgers come back? Do you want him to come back?
I think we got to think about this as a human being perspective. He's never going to be making like $40 million a year again. He's probably going to want the money and come back. It's like after football's over.
I think it's beyond the money at this point.
But here's the thing. Like after football, you don't make that kind of money again. So like eventually the human being sits in you and you're like, I got to get that money.
As a Jets owner, if I was the Jets owner, I'd say, no, we do not want you back.
Well,
I do. As a Jets fan, I would not want
whatever
him back.
Whatever you think the Jets owner should do.
Start rebuild. Start it. Because you're not going to the playoffs.
Whatever you think the Jets owner should do, he's going to do the opposite. I think we learned this now.
So they're going to keep him.
Yeah, exactly.
But okay.
I think this is all setting up to keep him. They got rid of everyone else but him.
You keep him for another year. What do you do? You got Aaron Rodgers.
They're not going to do anything next year. He can't move unless you stack the offensive line.
Rebuild.
Unless you stack the offensive line, he can't move. So you need to have the best offensive line in the league for him to do anything.
Let me ask you this. Let's say the Jets picked up any of the rookie quarterbacks that we have now, do you think you're playing better?
Any?
Jaden Daniels.
We'd be better.
Bo Nix.
We'd be better.
Drake May.
We
Still
might
early.
be better.
Caleb Williams.
We probably would be worse.
I think
we probably would be worse because he's been struggling as a rookie.
I agree, but he was the first overall pick.
Yes.
So you definitely wouldn't have got him.
So, yeah.
Just things
They suck.
I'm throwing out
They
there.
fucking suck.
Get rid of him. If you guys bring him back, just know you're more disappointment.
Hey, on the brighter note, Tommy Cutlet's back.
Tommy Cutlets. As a Giants fan, I am happy. I woke up, 2 days ago. I think it was
the Daniel Jones era is over.
I think, what was it, on Monday?
Yes.
Monday it came out. Daniel Jones is being benched.
It's
and
over.
I love it. It's over. We're finally done. It's like that purgatory you're stuck in.
You finally broke up with that girlfriend, that toxic ex-girlfriend that took all your money.
Hope we don't
Daniel Jones took all your money.
I just hope we don't take him back.
Here's the thing, though. Tommy DeVito, what if you get some wins here, ruin your draft pick?
That can be an unfortunate.
You have to play to win. You can't.
I could really see us beating the Bucks here.
Yes.
And it's unfortunate. Like, I don't want to. You know what? Like, I'd be happy if we lost every game besides the divisional games. You love winning divisional games no matter where you're at. Like, beating the Cowboys, hell
beating
yeah.
the Eagles.
Beating the Eagles, hell yeah.
Smashing Jaden Daniels in the mouth.
Smashing it, hell yeah.
So, Giants Bucks is going to be the Week 12. Part of the Week 12 picks, so stay tuned for that. We're going to do that in the next video. This is fun, Dylan. This is actually a pretty interesting week.
It was a very interesting
week. We missed
week.
last week, but we're going to chug through for the rest of the regular season, so no more missing. So stay tuned, like, subscribe, share, keep supporting us. You see the logo everywhere. You see that logo around, watch that goddamn video. Thanks, Dylan. See you in the next video. Take care.